Oh.
Colonies were forming, the revolution storming. The past is never boring, it's history you see. Da 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 dum. Snap, snap. Da 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 dum. Snap, snap. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Snap, snap.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Two Blondes and a Microphone podcast. We're your hosts, Sophie and Olivia. Today we're talking about the topic that shaped the 60s and gave the baby boomers their own place in society as the generation for change. They inspired many movements that mainly inspired both anti-war protests and cultural changes that created their own movements like feminism, civil rights, and other stuff.
Today we're discussing the hippie movement and the many civil rights movements that emerged alongside it, including the Chicano movement, the feminist movement, the American Indian movement, and the Japanese American Citizens League.
That's a lot of movements. If we'd have any more, we'd have to make this a PE podcast.
Unfortunately, this is history class.
However, most visible protests during this time were anti-war demonstrations. The hippie movement emerged primarily among young Americans who were frustrated with traditional social norms and government policies. Hippie promoted values such as peace, love, and equality. Their distinctive style, music, and festivals became the lasting symbols of the 1970s. Music played a huge role in spreading hippie ideals. Artists use their songs to express anti-war messages and advocate for social change. Events like Woodstock brought together hundreds of thousands of hippies who shared similar beliefs about peace and social justice. While not everyone who opposed the war identified as a hippie, the movement became very closely associated with them.
Anti-war opinions grew stronger as the Vietnam War continued. Americans could watch live news coverage showing soldiers fighting overseas, wounded civilians, and the devastating effects of warfare. As casualties increased, many citizens began questioning whether the war was worth the tremendous loss of life. Public trust in the government also declined. Government officials frequently assured Americans that progress was being made in Vietnam, but news reports often showed a very different reality. The gap between official statements and what people saw on television caused many Americans to doubt what their leaders were telling them.
It's kind of like when I say, don't worry, everything's under control, my driving's good. That's exactly when you should start worrying.
It's not
One of the most shocking events that inspired in opposition to the war was the revolution of the My Lai massacre. In 1968, American soldiers killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians, including women, children, and elders, during a mission to search for Viet Cong. When the massacre became public in 1969, Americans were horrified with what happened.
The anti-war movement continued to grow through protests and marches on college campuses across the country. At the same time, other groups were fighting for equal rights and greater representation. The Chicago movement advocated for Mexican-American civil rights, feminists pushed for gender equality, Native American activists demanded recognition of treaty rights and sovereignty, and organizations such as the Japanese American Citizens League worked to address discrimination and seek justice for past injustices.
Together, these movements transformed American society. They challenged ideas about equality and warfare, leaving a lasting impact on the nation. Their influence helped define the social and political culture of the 1970s and is the main legacy of the baby boomers. That's it! Thank you for watching. See you next time. I just realized I'm wearing my glasses.
That's alright. Then we'll...
Da-da-da-da.